What in the name of Clockwork Orange?
No idea what that was.
Fisted. Ken Haas.
Greg Koch. Where are we, Greg? Where are we? Where are we?
We're in the Wildwood lair once again.
What brings us to Wildwood?
Talk about Reverend Guitars and about our bold musical partnership.
Bold.
As
Very bold.
Giant Midwestern men with mission. What is that mission? To rock.
To rock.
And to create implements of rock. And to wield said implements of rock. And to make them available for you, the peeps, so that you too can be large Midwestern creatures of rock and roll.
Indeed. I like it.
I like it too.
Yeah.
And I love this guitar, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is the new Reverend
It is.
Gristle Master.
Yep.
Signature instrument for myself. Doggone it. And this particular guitar that we're holding right now, these colors are available here at Wildwood Guitars as a limited run.
Indeed.
With the Palfaro fingerboard, only available.
Only available.
And roasted maple is what it usually comes with. But this color, we were thinking of what color orange we should call it. I thought Ohm orange, as it's kind of Swami-esque in its huage.
I didn't get Ohm. I honestly.
You didn't understand. You thought it was OHM instead
did.
of OM. But then then immediately I came up with Clockwork Orange.
Sold.
And I thought, well, that'll do it.
Yeah.
We started talking, I think, at NAMM, and we were just gonna say, hey, wouldn't it be fun to do one of those parties at at Nashville NAMM? We started talking about that.
Yeah, we started actually talking about at Winter NAMM last year, 2018.
Yes.
You were playing a Pete Anderson Eastsider in the booth, and you said, man, I really love this neck. You know, I'd really like to hear this with my Gristle tone pickups in it, and asked if I would install. And I said, well, hey, you play that guitar at the Dallas show, and we can talk about that.
Yes.
Right?
But when we started talking, we're like, you know what? If we wanted to do something, it could be as easy as maybe doing a different neck profile, putting my pickups in, and maybe a different bridge, because I'm a fan of the 3-saddle brass bridge, and of course Wilkinson makes a great one, which we ended up going with. And then I started doing some different colors. You said, we can do whatever we want. And I said, well, what I've always wanted to do was to have this style of body shape, which I think we're familiar with, which I know is not usually Reverend's thing. They do unique things, and those are all glorious, and I dig that. But I'm known for particular body shape, let's just be honest, as Pete Anderson was.
As Pete was, yeah, absolutely.
But I've always wanted a body shape that's a little bit larger. Not so large that it would alienate the more diminutive individual, but just with a slightly larger proportion all the way around, it just looks less, shall we say, mandolin-like on individuals of our proportion. Because you're what, 6'5"?
6'6".
You're 6'6", I'm 6'7".
Yeah.
So when we play these guitars, they're more proportionate. So not that it's all about proportion, but sometimes it's nice not to have people going, what is that, a ukulele? No, it's not, okay? It's an electric guitar.
We have some pictures over at the Reverend website and on the Reverend Facebook page of this guitar and the traditional Eastsider.
Yes.
Side by side and back to back. It like you said, there's certainly no reason for the average sized human.
Right.
I'm not being diminutive.
Right.
By saying that they're smaller than we are.
No, they're just, standard sized humans.
Standard size.
Yes.
There's no reason for them to be afraid of it.
No.
It's certainly not the size of like a, traditional semi-hollow or anything like that.
Correct.
It's very subtle.
Yes.
But noticeable when you're holding it.
Exactly. And especially with the binding. It just makes a big diff, I think.
Indeed.
And then as we were talking about it, Joe had suggested this elevated middle section, because I have a guitar with that kind of a feature on it that he had seen me playing, and he said, what if we did that? I was like, man, that sounds totally cool.
Yeah, that'd be different.
And then originally, I remember we were thinking about a surround here that was more metal.
Yes.
And that has caused a little bit of controversy, as they say somewhere.
It has.
But the reason why we didn't go with it, folks, is because the metal that we had chosen was messing with the impedance of this pickup. It just didn't sound correct. And as soon as Joe took that off and put this plastic around it, the problem was solved. And I thought it looked different and cool.
Yeah.
So
It's neat having it match the pickguard. I think.
I think totally, and plus it makes it look more reverent. If we're honest, it looks more.
I can see that.
It's more different. It's a tweaking of a traditional thing, but yet it makes it unique.
Yeah.
And some people are like, "Well, what is that? Is that a different pickup?" And some people, there's so much, as we know, religiosity and cult-like status to these iconic body shapes, that when somebody sees something unique, sometimes they're like, "What is that?" Oh. But most people, I have to say, have been, "No, that's cool," and I'm one of them. And since it's my signature guitar, I guess that's the important thing.
Yeah.
So
we tried a couple different metals on it, and it just didn't jibe well with the pickup for whatever reason.
And to be honest,
I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's something to do with the cover on that pickup, because certainly doesn't impact the bridge pickup being.
Well, what is interesting is that traditionally a tele set has a nickel cover, and so when we were doing these Fishman fluents, and we were doing all the different beta testing and doing whatever we needed to do to voice these pickups, nickel messed with that fluence core.
Interesting.
So there's something with the way that these pickups are made that makes it a little bit more sensitive to.
Indeed.
So it would have been a search to find the right metal, and we're like, you know what, this works.
This looks cool.
It looks cool. So that's what we did.
And talk about that bridge too, that Wilkinson bridge.
Well, the Wilkinson bridge is fantastic, and what I like about it is that I just. And again, not to get too cork sniffy on this, but I've always felt that three brass saddles.
You just like the look of it. That's fine.
I like the look of it, and I think it's just got a little bit more twang-a-lang. There's just a little difference of sound, and the fact that these are compensated so that they can intonate. It's the best of all worlds, as far as I'm concerned. Right?
They work.
They work, and so when we talk about the pickups, it comes with this whole control thing. So it's both pickups, the control panel, and the input jack, because there is a lithium-ion battery in here that voices these pickups. And people are like, are they active pickups? And they're powered pickups. You want to get into semantics, whatever. So these are actual, there are magnets in these pickups. They're surrounded, instead of by windings, there are these aerospace stacked circuit boards that the coil is actually printed on. So what that allows you to do is voice the pickup any way that you want. That's where the battery comes in. It's this little button here goes between two different sounds. One, we went with, we're calling black guard and white guard, but in just even more layman's terms, when it's up, it's more of a open sounding, brighter tone. And then when you press it in, it's more of a black guard sound. It's a little more output. It's a little more mid-range. Let's just get a little bit more push. Mm-hmm. And that's not like they're adding something to the first tone. It's actually like you've yanked out one set of pickups and put another set in, because that's the way that this technology allows you to behave. So that's what happens there. And the reason why we went with this push button was because I wanted to make sure that all the things that you enjoy about traditional tone controls on T-style guitars that you could do with this. Yes. So that's where we went with that. And so we initially offered the three colors are Blucifer.
Yeah.
And then
Pow yellow.
Pow yellow.
And wow.
And wow red.
Yeah.
Although if we could modify those color names at some point in time, I'm like big feller yeller.
Oh, okay.
Right? I don't know. Old yeller. Big feller on Old Yeller. Yeah. I like that.
I like that.
And then further, I like Crimson Strumpet Red. Maybe that's a little not politically correct. Maybe we'll work on that one. Okay. I don't even know what that means. But
you get it by penny, and we're good to go.
All right, good. And then so this special run is of the Clockwork Orange, and all the tops are transparent.
Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork.
Yes.
Clockwork.
Cockwork.
Cock.
Clock.
Cock. Rhymes with chalk.
Clock.
Not cock. Cock. Damn it. Anyway. The tops are transparent. The back and sides are usually opaque, but this one you can actually see some grain through. It looks really, really cool.
Yeah, that's that's sort of the traditional Reverend rock orange on the back.
It's fantastic.
Yes, and then of course you hold in your left hand to use paraphrase, glorious.
Yes.
Roasted maple neck.
Yes.
And that roasted maple is basically it's wood that is kiln dried before the neck is carved.
Yes.
So if you were to take a cross section of that neck, that is the color of the neck. And we do that for stability.
Right.
Because there's this thing where they say if the humidity of the air was 67% and you were able to take the humidity inside the wood, it would also be 67%. That's what they say. It seems like a hard thing to wrap your mind around, but this is physics, folks. Can't fight physics.
Yes. Well.
Had this conversation earlier today. Can't fight physics.
Right.
So by kiln drying the neck is less sensitive to outside humidity forces. And while, I mean, I certainly can't guarantee if you're going from a 12-degree Milwaukee.
Well, all I can say is from my personal
Montego
experience.
Bay.
My personal experience says it stays.
Yeah.
It does not wander.
It's interesting.
It's fantastic.
And then, of course, the first couple of years of owning a guitar, and especially in the Midwest, you see some fret sprout and stuff, and you usually have to go to a tech who's good at that and maybe have it. Doesn't matter how expensive the guitar is.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, usually that first year of outside weather-related issues, but humidity is the big one.
Yes.
People under-humidify and over-humidify their homes all the time. And
Yes.
we're always saying, boy, when fall comes around, hey, Midwest people, get those humidifiers going in your guitar rooms.
Right.
Get them in the cases.
I never listened to that.
The roasted maple combats that in a pretty cool way. While you may, with extremes, you may still notice some things, and you may need a tweak of the truss rod somewhere. In general, it certainly is a lot better, but it just looks cool.
It does look
It
cool.
looks really cool, and no two are exactly the same. You know, not unlike when you, like you can see the carina through the body, and sometimes the carina is a little more figured, sometimes it's a little less grainy. You don't really know, and that it gives everything its own sort of personality. Pal Ferro. Sometimes we get this really cool figured Pal Ferro. Sometimes it's darker, sometimes it's lighter. Sometimes it's darker and lighter in spots like this one, which I love. And sometimes when they're with those roasted maple necks, they're darker and lighter,
Yeah.
depending on how tight the grain is and stuff. And you just end up with all these really interesting looking guitars, and they feel so slick.
Well, I will
cool.
say, and I know there's probably, I don't know, I'll just say it. I've got a 53 Telecaster.
Yeah.
And this roasted maple neck feels more like that neck than any new guitar I've ever played. That old guitar, I mean, and I love the neck on that, but this actually reminds me more of that than any new guitar I've fondled.
So, and then we were mentioning in the intro video that we did outward about how we're not fighting a legacy at Reverend, right? So all of the guitars have locking tuners, and we're not going to make this guitar without locking tuners.
I love locking tuners. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, especially for a guy who plays as much as you do, you're changing strings in the back of a van, you're changing strings in the back of a bus,
Right.
you're
Boom.
changing strings in the bathroom that they told you that you could use before you go on stage, whatever. It's so nice to just not. And then this is my own personal thing. I just can't see the windings without my reading glasses anymore. So I really like having a locking tuner and just beep, boop, boop. It's okay, I'm old. Look at the beard. It's
And
great.
we should probably talk about the string tree.
Yeah, we'll talk about the triple tree. So if you'll notice on all the Reverend models, well, there's a couple of features that are on most Reverend guitars. We talked about the bass contour earlier.
Right.
And I was using it on the Jen Wasner guitar that I was playing on the promo, and we'll talk about that and some of the other stuff too. Greg, with his pickups, they just weren't. The bass contour was never anything that came up when these pickups were developed before this guitar was.
Right.
These pickups are voiced for your playing, and you're happy with them the way they are voiced. There was no reason for us to try to squeeze our sort of patented bass contour circuit into this guitar. It just doesn't have a place.
Right.
It also is not featured on the Eastsiders. And I say this often, if you put 3 knobs on this control plate, it's illegal.
Right,
There's a law.
exactly.
No, there's people that will arrest you.
Right.
And again, I don't want to be that hoity-toity guy that goes, oh, well, it's not supposed to, but I mean, you just can't do it.
Exactly.
When you use some of our humbucker models or P90 models and other things, because I see a Space Hawk jump up on stage with you every once in a while,
Yep.
and you utilize the bass contour in that because
Totally.
it's a different kind of a circuit. It's a different thing. But on this model, there was just no need for us to do it.
Exactly.
And it didn't fit in with the Gristle tones.
Right.
Triple tree also. So Joe came up with, a couple years ago, Joe nailed it.
Right. Nailed it.
He plays downtuned in a 2-man band. And I believe his guitar is tuned to like a drop C or a drop B or something like that effect.
That'll rattle your polyps.
And
Excuse me.
he's using bigger strings and winding them tight. And he wanted to have a little more downward pressure on his wound 3rd string, which is tuned to a D on his guitar, I believe, as opposed to a G. And didn't want to put a second string tree on there. Don't like the look of 2 string trees.
Right.
Some people like that cleaner look of having 1 string tree. But yet, on some instruments, you'll notice that sort of bong on your open G because you're not putting a lot of pressure down there. And so Joe, on this detuned guitar, took apart one of our roller trees and then just put a nail in there and was like, "Whoa, this solves that problem." And then he came to us and he was like, "Kind of check this out. This is a neat little feature that we can sort of offer." And very quickly we started rolling it across the line, and then we sell a lot of these triple trees individually on our website.
Okay.
It's become sort of a little popular add-on. So we didn't want to deprive this model of that feature, which has become kind of a Reverend-y thing. It's cool. However, Mr. Greg here, with his ultra dynamic behind the nut bending style, preferred that open length of string with the G. And so on models that he is performing with regularly, we are putting our regular roller just 2-string tree on it. And I have those available in limited numbers. If somebody's looking for one, we can certainly swap you out and get you one.
And we should say that that's the only tweak that's different between a production line one and the one that I use is the string tree.
Yeah, that's it.
Can you dig it?
I can dig it. So for Wildwood, of course, who was instrumental in putting us together to begin with, right out of the gate, they wanted to do a custom color, which is where this clockwork orange came from. And but of course, all of the models are available here, and we're taking color inquiries.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we're not afraid.
We're not afraid.
We're not afraid.
And we should also mention that this neck's just a little bigger than the Pete Anderson, correct?
Slightly.
Yeah.
Yep. Just a little bigger. And this version of this guitar is the only one that features the Palo-Ferro fretboard so far.
Yeah.
We haven't, everything is maples, but these guys wanted to try one, so you can see it.
I think it looks totally cool.
It looks beautiful. So the GK1, also known as the Grissle Master.
The Grissle Master. Can you dig it?
Can you all dig it?
And we should also mention the compound radius.
Yes.
10 to 14.
10 to 14.
Which I ended up really, really liking.
Yeah.
And especially when I do that slide stuff, if I fret down with the slide at all in the upper register, it's much more conducive to that than a standard type of radius.
Real quick, why don't we run through the tones?
Sure.
Why don't we run through the bridge in the middle? I'll do a little.
Absolutely.
Why don't I do a little just on the clean sound, a little E.
So that's with the neck pickup. I press the button in. Middle position. All the tones are there, ladies and gentlemen. I was going through the clean channel on this amp with a little bit of that OTS on my Greg Signature amp. So it mostly stays clean, but if you turn down the volume. Another feature of those pickups, you don't lose any highs, you turn down the volume. I mean, it's got all the sounds.
It does.
I love it. I usually leave the house with guitar, a chord, this amp, I'm done. Boom. Pow. But what's great about these guitars as well is that with these pickups, I can go in any doggone place and grab any kind of, you know, tube amp that you can just kind of crank up. A lot of times I go in, there'll be like a deluxe reverb or even
The classic.
the classic. Go into it. I turn it up to about 7, plug this guitar straight in, turn the volume down, it's clean, turn it up. It gets screamy. I press that button in, end of the world. And that's all you really need. So it really functions.
End of the world.
That's it. So it functions in a way that, even though it's utilizing some pretty high technology over there one time, it actually makes it be able to function in the most sensitive, organically, shall we say, dynamically sensitive way, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what I was just doing there. Sometimes things come and I just can't stop it.
Sometimes I just let you go to hear what's going to.
Wow. And all this under the watchful eyes of Owl over there. I don't know if people saw the owl.
Yeah.
Hoot owl, as we like to call him around here, around these parts. Well, listen, thank you so much for spending some time talking about this glorious weapon. We're going to talk about more Reverend Guitars in future videos that'll be coming shortly.
I got to tell you guys, too, what a blast it is working with him. Because I get that all. People are like, what's he like? Well, he's like what you see on the videos. This is it.
Well, except that off camera, my language can get a little bit more colorful.
Yeah, I suppose. But Naylor's exactly the same way. And it was fun putting you together with Joe. I mean, I just had a feeling, you know, and you and I were sort of batting ideas around a little bit, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, Joe's just going to eat this up. He's gonna, as soon as we get the two of them together. And you always know a good thing because as soon as we got the two of you together, it was like, psh, psh, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, this, that. And that's how really cool things come to light. Yeah. It seems to me, right?
I can dig it.
So here it is, folks, the Reverend Guitars Master.
Can you dig it?
Wildwood Guitar.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. Stick around. Gregory Cockery with Ken Haas here in the Wildwood Lair. Adios.